I want to say I have high respect for Mr. Taman. He has got a very illustrious career on behalf of Singapore government for more than 20 years. Now, for this contest, he will be my biggest opponent, and I want to take this opportunity to tell the people of Singapore why they should vote for me instead of Mr. Taman as president. Now, Mr. Taman made two statements during the past week, and I want to respond to these two statements. Mr. Taman said the president has to play a role to articulate Singapore's position in the international stage. That means the president must represent Singapore's interests in the international stage. This I agree with Mr. Taman. But I want to point out the conduct of foreign policy, international policy, is the duty of the foreign minister and the prime minister. It is not for the president to interfere in the foreign policy. So this is the point I want to make. Remember, the president is not to interfere in the foreign policy. It has to be done by the prime minister and the foreign minister. Still, the president has an important role to represent Singapore's interests. But the policy that the president will articulate is the same as what the government wants. And this policy, I want to say what they are, which I agree. It is to the key principles of Singapore's foreign policy to promote international cooperation. There's no question about that. International cooperation, promote international trade. So Singapore needs to trade with other countries to promote peace. We don't want war, we want to have peace. And to have friendly relations with our neighboring countries, with the major powers, the global powers that are in conflict. We want to have friendly relations with all the global powers and with other countries that are important to us. Now, this is the Singapore's interest, national interest, which I believe in, and which, if I'm the president, I will promote this. But I will not interfere with the government on the conduct of foreign policy. That's for the government. Now, Mr. Taman also said on the same matter, international stage, that he has got good contact and many years of experience in international stage. That I also agree. Now, Mr. Taman is very good in that area. But I want to share that I also have got some experience on international stage. Not as much as Mr. Taman, but I think more than adequate. For 5 years, between 1992 to 1997, I was the chairman of an international federation comprising of big insurance companies around the world. They are the insurance companies operating under cooperative principles. Some of the members in that federation, from Japan, from America, from Europe, they are 10, 20 times the size of NTUC income. And yet the leaders of this, the top executives of this company, elect me to be the chairman of the federation for 5 years. So I think my international exposure is also quite adequate. Maybe not as good as Mr. Taman, but I think it's enough. And my international exposure is not just these 5 years. I was involved with them for more than 20 years. So I do travel internationally, not every day, but 2-3 times a year to meet the leaders in other countries. And I get to respect the culture of other countries, and in turn, they respect Singapore's culture and interests. So this is my comment about international matters. I respect Mr. Taman's role. I just want to say that my role is also quite adequate. Now I want to also say about the next comment that Mr. Taman said was he's a good economist, and therefore as a good economist he can handle the reserves better. I have got full respect for Mr. Taman as a good economist. But I want to point out that the President is above the economist. The President should not be just an economist, but has to provide leadership above the economist. And what are the leadership? First of all, a President who is not an economist, he got advisors who are economists. And the economists will advise on what kind of, what the international environment is and so on. So what is the leadership that the President must give? The leadership is do we have enough reserves to meet our future needs? Do we have too much reserves? Because the reserves that you accumulate take away from the current generation. Do we have too much? Do we have enough? Do we have too much? And also, do we need to increase tax and GST just to boost up the reserve? If we have too much, why burden the people with higher tax and higher GST? Of course, this is the role of the government, but the President must also tell the government on behalf of the people. If you increase GST, people are suffering hardship. So that's the role of the President. And I think this is more than just being an economist. It has to be the leadership, the national leadership. Can part of the reserve be used right now to lower the cost of living for the people? Because people are struggling with the cost of living. Can part of the reserve be used? Now, these are the role of the President to speak on behalf of the people and discuss with the government. Of course, the government will make a final decision on current financial affairs. But the President should also discuss with the government. There's no need to keep on giving me more reserve. I don't need it. Let the money be used to help the people. That will be the role of the President. So these are the 2 points I want to give in answer to what Mr. Taman has said. And these were the 2 key points over the last week.